This is Sam. He runs a LinkedIn ghostwriting agency working with a ton of big name brands, which many of you know because you've either used their service before or you currently use their tools on the day-to-day. He scaled his agency from $0 to $30,000 a month all by himself, primarily signing clients through the content that he posted on LinkedIn, through referrals, or through word of mouth. However, he quickly reached a ceiling where his revenue just plateaued and he was stuck. So he decided to start looking at other outbound alternatives, such as email marketing. After deciding to take matters in-house and running email marketing himself, he realized that he just didn't have the time, the bandwidth, nor the expertise to make it effective, which is why he decided to reach out to us looking for help. The result? 21 qualified sales meetings booked in the first 40 days and 4 new high-ticket retainer clients signed for his business. So in this video, I'm going to show you how we made this happen for Sam and how we do this consistently across dozens of different niches for 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses. And I've got to ask, if you enjoy this video or get value from it, then please make sure to like the video, subscribe to my channel, and leave your comments below. And without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it.
Excited to be speaking with Sam today. He's the founder of Solio. And without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive right in. Question number 1, Sam, where were you at in business, prior to working with myself, and then where are you at right now?
So yeah, around the time I started working with you, I was just sort of trying to get serious about client acquisition. It had pretty much exclusively been 100% inbound, aside from the occasional DM here and there. And I was recommended getting a cold email, but I didn't really know where to start with that. I had started, tried to build it myself using the guides and manually buying the Outlook accounts and everything, set up everything. But I was like, this is super time consuming. I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to do. So I just asked somebody I knew. I was like, do you know anybody I don't really have the time to be doing this, and I'm happy to pay somebody for it. He's like, yeah, just work with Nick. And so yeah, basically, long story short, I worked with Nick, and he built some really great lists and deployed some really great email copy and great infrastructure, and got some super valuable leads. Some just converted directly, some which referred me to other people who converted directly, some who haven't converted yet, but I still talk to them occasionally and probably will convert at some point in the future. So both in the short, medium, and long term provide a lot of benefit really quickly. And I also had the benefit of learning how to do this sort of outreach by myself, or absorb that information through osmosis. So all around really helpful.
Heck yeah, and I know we got off to a really quick start there. And I guess can you tell our viewers here just a little bit more about your business, what it's about, and some of the types of services that you're able to offer?
Yeah, so I am a LinkedIn ghostwriting agency. I really try to be the specialist, the absolute best. It's primarily me doing the writing fulfillment now. That occasionally, very gradually and occasionally, I'll add people with stuff, but not more than I can commit to absolute quality, because I think most people in this space, if they start out really well, they want to scale, and so they just get the lowest bidder writers and hand off clients to them, and it becomes a content mill really quickly, despite how good their intentions are. But yeah, I'm LinkedIn ghostwriting, but I try to be the absolute best, and so a really touch, high personalized service. And so I just I wanted to add a few more clients. I know I had more capacity, and cold email, I didn't really know if it would be a good channel for me, but it turned out it would work out really, really well. So yeah.
And one great thing about you and your service is that you really put your money where your mouth is. If you look at your LinkedIn profile, it's very clear. You know how to really build a voice, build a brand. And I've seen other people that try to do the same thing that you're doing, but then it's how can they really back up what they're doing when you go and read their profile or their posts, and you're it doesn't really add up. So anyway, it's been really impressive just watching you and your journey so far. What would you say that some of your main struggles were before trying cold email, when you were just really getting started, trying to figure out the whole outbound process, new client acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, it was just I was starting pretty much from zero in terms of knowledge. I didn't know what to say, I didn't know how to say it, I didn't know how to send it. And basically I was just clueless about it. And so that was basically the long and short of it. And obviously I was just I need somebody who knows this really well, and you do it really well, and it turned out really well.
Very nice. And did you feel you were stuck at all beforehand, with business?
Yeah. Oh no. Well, maybe not in terms of business. That was that's sort of a different discussion about like the business itself. Like in terms of like lead generation, I was like, yeah, I knew how to get inbound leads and, with DMs and stuff like that, I knew how to do that. But like, I didn't know how to like really scale outreach. And I knew how to do it through cold email, but I didn't know how. And so like that, you help me unlock that.
Did you ever feel like, I guess like that your offer was not good enough for outreach, or that it wouldn't work, or did you have like hesitations in that sense?
I didn't know like how honestly we respond to outreach. Like I know it did well on like LinkedIn outreach because it's LinkedIn and it's LinkedIn related offer, but I didn't know how people would respond just in the broader world to like a request to an inquiry like LinkedIn ghostwriting. And it turns out quite well. It's actually a lot of people think about this. A lot of leaders think about this. They think about like LinkedIn and just branding, content marketing in general, and they have an idea. They have some sort of concept of how effective LinkedIn can be, but they have no idea where to start. They don't know whose ghostwriters to trust. A lot of people are sort of cynical with the ghostwriting process because they know that these sort of content agencies tend to outsource the lowest bidder. So basically, it actually turned out to be a really good opportunity for me to come in and say, hey, I have all this credibility, I have all these followers, I have all these people I work with, I have these results I work with. It's like, what if we just like talked about working together? And Pure Talk people were very receptive to that. Like even very, very high level people who normally like you wouldn't think would respond to cold outreach, like people like who you usually ignore all their outreach emails, were like, yeah, I actually do want to talk about this. So it actually didn't just do okay, but actually was especially well suited for cold outreach.
Yeah, and I think one big aspect of that was leading with value, like being able to, one of the strategies that we did was having you obviously like give profile audits and actually lead with big value tips like beforehand. So it wasn't like we were just like asking directly for, a call. We're actually giving them a couple of good nuggets. They could see what it is about. And then you kind of made them aware of other areas that they could do, optimize their profile. And I think that was really nurtured these people to be good qualified prospects for those calls.
Yeah.
And then I guess like looking at cold email compared to like other acquisition strategies, how did it kind of compare to?
Well, it's sort of apples to oranges, honestly. It's like I've never done ads or cold calling before, so I can compare to that. It's compared to like DMs. DMs are really, really great for leading with value, but they're constrained very hard by the amount of people that you can reach out to at once. So a cold email is functionally unlimited. I mean, limited only by like your market size, basically, right? And so the fundamental advantage, of course, is cold email is scale, and you can contact especially with me, my market is pretty much like infinite almost. I mean, it's only really constrained by a certain amount of revenue. So it's like you reach out to a functionally infinite amount of people, and honestly, you can get as many leads as you want, depending on how many emails you're willing to send. Honestly, so that's really the key differentiator. With DMs, they're really, really great for getting in touch with specific people, and there can be a great acquisition channel too. But it's like you really, really, really have to do like a extreme amount of quality, extreme amount of personalization to make the constraint of who you can reach out to worth to like work out like mathematically. But with cold email, you can, obviously you want to send something valuable, but like as long as you have a fundamentally like interesting and appealing offer, and you have like you're reasonably good at articulating to people, it's fundamentally just a numbers game from there, like with that baseline of appeal. And so that's basically what cold email specifically unlocks, and why it's just a really excellent channel for anyone with a target market that's sufficiently large for it.
Just two more questions here, Sam. I guess like, were the results that you've been able to get from cold email, like, does it justify like making an investment and like putting in the time to get cold email acquisition system, going for your business?
Yeah, 100%. And it also, in addition, it helps as someone who's fully immersed in that environment, because they're just keeping up with the meta constantly, and they're knowing like what setup works. Because like, I've only been in cold email, I think I started in like October, and I've seen the meta evolve like multiple times, and like so it really helps to have someone who's like in the know, in addition to just like having infrastructure set up as a baseline. Like, yeah, you can have your inboxes, but there's honestly some other things. You got to have like the servers, you got to have like domain masking, you got to have like the right percentage of senders, and it's like increasingly complicated. And thankfully there are like the it's sort of an arms race, like the software sort of advances to keep up with it, but at the same time, just it just really helps to have somebody in the know. And yeah, that's the fundamental advantage of not just getting the infrastructure set up, but actually working with somebody who knows it. And I will say, well, I guess I should lead your question, but I will say with Nick though, is that he generally cares. Like I feel like I can tell when somebody does or doesn't care. He was never pushy in the sales call. He was never like pushy about upsells or anything. And like I genuinely felt like he cared about the results. So I'll say that too. So obviously get someone specialized, but also get someone who actually cares. And I think Nick actually cares.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that, Sam. And yeah, it's funny, you've really gotten to learn a lot of this whole technical jargon, I guess, like behind cold email itself. It's like people just think sending cold emails, but all the stuff that goes on the back end could be a little complicated, very technical. And you kind of answered my question just before this, but this is just the last one, is just, would you recommend to anybody watching this video working, with myself, getting some help with cold email, cold outbound marketing?
Yeah, 100%. Nick understands the infrastructure and the meta really well. He's also really good at building lists. Like the lists he does, it's like the bounce rate will be, maybe around 2% max, maybe like at the max, like 3%. So like, and it's like high quality, it's accurate emails. It's not outdated. The names are accurate and everything. So he's not only sending email for the right infrastructure and actually landing inboxes, but they're actually going to the right people too. And like I said, I think he actually cares. There's a lot of people out there who are either just straight up scammers, or they're so incompetent they may as well be scammers. And Nick is not one of them. He actually does care. So you gotta not take those people for granted.
Thank you, Sam. I really appreciate that. And for anybody that's watching this too, highly recommend checking out Sam at solio.co. Does a fantastic job. His clients love him, and he'll really crush it for you. Help you build that brand voice on LinkedIn. Thank you so much, Sam. Really appreciate it. I'm going to cut off the recording here.
Now, one of Sam's biggest fears with implementing a cold email system like this for his business was just whether or not it was actually going to work. He had already wasted a couple of months trying to do things in-house and it didn't work. He spent time, he spent money, and ultimately stayed stuck at the same revenue plateau that he was beforehand. Now, I want to tell you a little bit about the process that we used and why it was so effective, because it might be relevant to some of you if you're in the same situation. One of the main reasons why our campaigns were so successful and why we had those results really quickly within the first 7 days of launching our first campaign is because of how much time and how carefully we sought out and sourced the data itself. You could have a great offer, but if you're reaching out to the wrong people, presenting it to the wrong market, the wrong persona from those companies, your offer is ultimately going to go flat and people aren't going to respond to your email campaigns because it's not that relevant. And now there's a lot of companies out there, a lot of people that would love to grow on LinkedIn, but it's going to mean a lot more to one person than it is the other. So after doing some critical thinking and looking across all these different industries and the case studies that Sam had, we really decided that the people that are most likely to have the highest intent and really want to become a top voice on LinkedIn are likely people who run a company that is trying to get acquired within the next couple of years. And so we had looked at the most recently funded companies over the past 12 months in the software, technology, SaaS, and AI space. And that's where we decided to source that company data. Once we found the right companies who had been recently funded, we just needed to really find out who were the founders of those companies. And one thing that's great about Crunchbase and the internet in general is that this information is publicly available. It's just a matter of going and finding the email addresses, which with our process, how we do that is we find the companies that we're going after, we find the people we want to go after, and then we waterfall enrich those contacts across 15 plus different email databases to make sure that we're finding the right email address and that email address is verified. After that, if you have the right data, you've sourced it, you know that these leads are high intent, the copywriting becomes really, really easy. So the next step of the process was essentially just putting some scripts together where we're getting Sam's offer in front of the right people. And rather than just saying, hey, we can help you grow your brand on LinkedIn, we wanted to take a different approach. And we like to call this the Trojan Horse approach, or as some people know, the loom strategy of cold email. You could check out one of my previous videos, you'll see what I mean by this. But essentially what we did is we reached out to the founders of these recently funded SaaS companies, and all we did was mention that we did find a couple of problems or issues with their LinkedIn profiles that if they optimize them, they'd probably be able to attract a lot more inbound leads or a lot more investors or additional funding in the foreseeable future. So rather than just telling them what we can do, we made it about them, and our value prop to them is we weren't pitching anything at this point. All we said was, hey, I noticed a couple of issues on your LinkedIn profile that, if optimized, could probably help you attract a lot more inbound leads or investors. It depended on who we were reaching out to, and we tailored that script accordingly. But this really just showed that we cared, we were leading with value, and the call to action in this case was, can I send you a video showing you 3 tips of how I would optimize your LinkedIn profile to attract more leads, or attract more customers, or attract more investors. And essentially that was the same strategy. So it really helps in your case when you're working with, if you have, a big brand on LinkedIn, or you have 250,000 plus followers on LinkedIn like Sam did in this case, or you have an incredible track record. But really the main thing here is that we had a great offer. We had high intent leads, so really well sourced data, and we were leading in with value and giving before we were asking, by offering a Loom video to show them how we would help them out before we even pitched for the call. If you have great data, and if you have a winning offer, something that people actually want where it's high demand, there's no reason that script writing becomes difficult. And we really simplified that process by literally just reaching out to the right people, offering that value, and offering a Loom video to show them how we would help. If they enjoyed that Loom video, it became pretty easy to convert that into a sales meeting. And at that point, they got to see a Loom video with Sam's face on it. It built trust, it built credibility, and they got value out of it. So the only thing that leaves them wondering is, what else could he do if he just showed me that much jam-packed value in a 2-minute Loom video? So it worked incredibly well. And if you have an offer similar to Sam's, or really any offer that's just valuable to the market, and you could find the right data source, you're going to be successful with it. So if you guys are wondering if cold email marketing could work for your business, just remember that 50% of the success comes from just having a good offer that people want to buy. And the other 50% depends on the infrastructure that you're using to send those emails. So if you want to make cold email a guaranteed success for your business, then schedule a call so we can have a conversation and see if it would work for you. And then just stay tuned for the next video where we talk about infrastructure and deliverability.